Tonight, a teenage boy admits murdering a man with a hunting knife in an unprovoked attack in Edinburgh. John McNabb was chased and killed by the 16-year-old in September last year. He was on bail for another knife attack at the time. Also on tonight's programme, a former SNP council leader is jailed for sexually assaulting 5 young men. Jordan Linden was sentenced to 18 months behind bars for offences dating back to 2011. One of his victims has spoken to BBC Scotland anonymously.
Having to relive it numerous times over the last 10 years. It's very chilling, but getting this point where there's justice, it's a good feeling.
Hundreds of Scottish airport workers are to ballot for strike action, which could disrupt travel to the World Cup and Commonwealth Games.
And coming up in tonight's sport, we hear from Haiti's record goal scorer on the World Cup showdown with Scotland and his mixed memories of his time at St Mirren.
Hello, I'm Laura Miller. This is Reporting Scotland. A teenager has admitted murdering a man with a hunting knife 4 months after he was given bail over an attack on another 16-year-old. The youth, who can't be named because of his age, chased and killed John McNabb in Edinburgh last year. Today, John's family and friends heard that he'd pled for his life before the teenager stabbed him to death. Our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan reports.
The murder of John McNabb was merciless, brutal and senseless. Today, dozens of his relatives and friends came to the High Court in Edinburgh to hear exactly what happened. For many of them, it was a traumatic experience. John died in the street in Leith in the early hours of a September morning last year. Earlier that night, some of his friends had been involved in a brief altercation with the teenager. John himself had done nothing, but the youth, 16 at the time, attacked him after lying in wait outside a flat for more than 2 hours. Harrowing CCTV footage of the murder was played to the packed courtroom. John McNabb could be seen running away from the teenager, who was pursuing him with a knife in his hand. John could be heard shouting, "Please, please don't, I haven't done anything." He stumbled at a traffic island. The teenager stabbed him 4 times, then ran off. The weapon had a 20-centimetre blade. Selling such knives to under 18s is illegal. It's not yet known where the teenager got it from. John, 22 years old, bled to death at the scene from a stomach wound which damaged his spine. The High Court heard the teenager bragged about stabbing John after the attack. He was on bail at the time, having been accused of slashing another youth with a knife at Portobello Beach 5 months earlier. He also admitted committing that crime today. In the months since her son's death, John's mother, Lisa Petrie, has distributed more than 50 bleeding control kits around Edinburgh, emergency medical packs which can halt catastrophic blood loss.
Even mince and butter are security tagged, but not knives.
She's campaigned for tighter security around the sale of knives to prevent them falling into the hands of teenagers and taking other lives.
Your whole world goes into a black hole. And that's the best way I can describe it. My whole world is a black hole right now. We were me and John, we were best pals, we were inseparable at times.
Today, through the police, she said the guilty plea would bring some closure, but she'll continue to fight for change.
My son's life was taken far too soon in a horrible way, and the pain of his absence will never be healed. I will continue this fight in honour of John. His death will not be in vain.
For their part, the police plan new violence prevention work in Edinburgh.
An extreme level of violence was used in these incidents. This kind of behaviour is never acceptable and will not be tolerated.
For now, John McNabb's killer can't be named because of his age. He'll face an automatic life term when he's sentenced next month. David Cowan, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
A former SNP council leader has been jailed for 18 months for sexually assaulting 5 young men. Jordan Linden, who stood down as leader of North Lanarkshire Council in 2022 after the allegations emerged, was convicted in March following a 7-day trial. Suzanne Allen reports.
This afternoon, Jordan Linden, in handcuffs, was led to a prison van to begin his 18-month sentence, the consequence of his predatory behaviour. Yesterday, arriving at court, he made only one comment. Do you have anything to say ahead of this, no. Mr Linden?
Not at this time.
Would you like to apologise to your victims? Anything to say to them at all? A man believed to be his father swore at the waiting media.
Do you have any apologies for your victims who've been left traumatised?
It was postponed, so this morning he was back. In March, the former council leader was convicted of sexually assaulting 5 young men and sending unwanted messages. This included photos of him in the bath and of his genitalia. One man, who was a witness at the trial, gave evidence that during a trip abroad with a youth group, Linden climbed into his bed and started caressing him. He spoke anonymously to BBC Scotland News.
And just sort of try to not take advantage of the situation, but try and see what would happen.
So he did it while there was other people in the room?
Yeah.
And did other people see?
No. We were at the top bunk in the room. I sort of shrugged off and tried to ignore it the next day, but it wasn't until a couple of years later you seen a number of other individuals coming forwards and you're reading the instances that happened with them is when I decided to speak out, so it was nearly 5, 6 years later.
This formed part of the evidence at Linden's trial, but was not one of the charges against him.
This state-of-the-art facility has involved local people.
Linden was once considered to be a rising star within the SNP. He also chaired the Scottish Youth Parliament and was involved in the SNP's youth wing, then went on to be leader of North Lanarkshire Council, but stepped down after the allegations emerged. The SNP leader ordered an independent review of the party's complaints process after some witnesses claimed concerns about Linden were ignored by the party.
I hope this gives some sense to the victims of Jordan Linden that the crimes for which he has been committed have now been punished.
The Scottish Youth Parliament said it cooperated fully with external investigations and has strengthened its safeguarding policies. Despite his ordeal, James feels Linden's conviction means he can move forward.
It's sort of a relief. Of course, having to relive it numerous times over the last 10 years. It's very chilling, but getting this point where there's justice being served, it's a good feeling.
Suzanne Allen with that report. To some of the day's other stories now. The former MSP facing charges of drink driving has had his case delayed for 4 weeks. Colin Smith represented the south of Scotland for Labour before he was suspended from the party last year. He's facing allegations that he was driving at excessive speed when he mounted the pavement, narrowly missing a pedestrian and collided with a parked car and bollards. The offences were alleged to have taken place on the High Street in Edinburgh last year. The charges also claim he was more than twice the legal alcohol limit. Mr Smith was not at Edinburgh Sheriff Court today to enter a plea. Police have recovered a bag of guns in the east end of Glasgow. They were called to Tynecastle Street in the Springboig area yesterday evening. Specialist firearms officers attended and the bag of weapons was safely removed. Officers remain at the scene while investigations continue. A woman has reported being raped in a daylight attack at a park in Dunfermline. Police were called to Pittencrieff Park at about 6:15 yesterday evening. Police Scotland said the investigation was in its early stages and appealed for anyone with information to come forward. So, in just over 12 hours' time, we will begin casting our votes in the Scottish Parliament election. Today saw the political parties put in one final push on the campaign trail. For 6 weeks, they've been up and down the country, setting out their stalls to voters. They've bungee jumped, pulled pints, made peach tarts, gone swimming in lochs and given karate a go. Our political editor, Glenn Campbell, has been there every step of the way.
This is an absolutely critical election.
A vote to choose who represents you at Holyrood and who leads the Scottish Government for the next 5 years.
My opponents are simply saying, vote for us to stop the SNP, and I'm offering the people of Scotland a positive and optimistic view of the world and of the future. Continuing to improve the National Health Service, delivering support for the cost of living challenges that people face, and taking forward the opportunity for Scotland to decide her own future with a referendum on independence.
John Swinney has been part of SNP governments for most of the last 19 years. At this election, you get to decide whether to keep him as First Minister or to kick him out. The Conservatives would settle for stopping the SNP winning a majority of Holyrood seats and pushing for another independence referendum.
A majority would immediately plunge Scotland into more constitutional chaos, and I certainly don't trust Sir Keir Starmer, the weakest Prime Minister in living memory, having the ability to say no to Swinney. And one thing's for sure, Keir Starmer certainly isn't going to listen to Anna Sarwar.
Election campaigns are tiring for everyone involved and a bit emotional for some.
Tomorrow every vote matters, and tomorrow every seat matters. Because tomorrow...
Labour spent weeks trying to shake off the unpopularity of their UK party and Prime Minister to focus voters on their efforts to oust the SNP.
Every vote for me in Scottish Labour in this election campaign is to change the government in Scotland, not to endorse Keir Starmer, and it won't be used to endorse Keir Starmer, it's to change the First Minister. And this election is not about 2 years of a Labour government, it's about 20 years of an SNP government.
For the Greens' new co-leaders,
we're still having fun.
they're offering a left-wing alternative to all the other larger parties.
At this election, Green MSPs will be key to making sure we have that pro-independence majority and that we keep Reform out. There's going to be a really tight contest between the Greens and Reform on that peach-coloured regional ballot paper.
If there were prizes for the most colourful election events, the Liberal Democrats would be in with a good shout.
I'm feeling awesome. We're having a great election. The key issues are, unsurprisingly, the cost of living, and we want to drive down fuel bills by insulating cold Scottish homes. We want to also tackle the crisis in our NHS by fixing social care.
Then there are the disruptors, the political insurgents of Reform UK, seeking to make their Holyrood breakthrough and to shake up the established order.
I think it's been really, really good. The enthusiasm for reform is there. I think we're going to send shockwaves across the political establishment come Friday. I think we'll see a lot of surprises happen, and I don't quite think the Holyrood bubble's ready for it.
The ballot boxes are ready and polling places are being set up across the country to receive the instructions of those voting in election 2026.
Well, Glenn is firmly back in the studio with us now, as you can see. It's felt like quite a long campaign, Glenn. How would you sum it up?
Has it been an electrifying campaign? No, I don't think it would be fair to argue that. It's a campaign that has been substantially overshadowed by global events, the war in Iran, which is, of course, having a direct effect on the cost of living here, with parties of all stripes offering some help with that, but there are limits to what any Holyrood government can do, what Westminster politicians can do as well. It's not really been a campaign, I think, that you would say has been characterised by a big battle of ideas, but are there differences between the parties? You bet. Differences over taxation and welfare, differences over energy, more oil and gas and nuclear, or not, and differences, of course, over the constitution, should there be another independence referendum or not in the coming years. So there are certainly reasons to choose between the different parties according to choice. It's only a couple of years, remember, since Labour defeated the SNP in a national election. Their fortunes appear to have changed since then, with their support in the opinion poll trend falling below the SNP, so that the polls suggest the SNP is currently the best placed party to finish in first place. But it goes without saying that polls are polls and the actual vote is something different. That takes place tomorrow, although some will already have voted by post. And when we know the outcome, one of the interesting features of Holyrood, which is a party likely to be made up of minorities, to see which parties are or are not prepared to work with others to get things done.
Well, indeed, let's get down to business then. The voting process for a Scottish election is different to a general election. Just remind people what they will expect to find when they go into the polling booth tomorrow.
Well, you don't just get one vote, you get two. So let's start with the lilac-coloured ballot paper. That's your vote for a constituency MSP, the person who will represent you locally. You mark a cross against the candidate that you most want to win, and whoever has the most votes gets into Holyrood. There's a second vote. It's on the peach ballot paper that you heard a number of the politicians referring to in my report. And when it comes to this, you get another vote for the party or the candidate you most want. But the outcome of this is partly proportional. So it's weighted against those who've done well in the constituencies and in favour of those who might need a helping hand to get into the Parliament at the next election. So that chooses a number of MSPs to represent you in your region.
Well, thank you for walking us through that. It was going to be a busy few days for you, Glenn. We'll let you go and prepare. Thank you.
Forward to.
Well, you might remember that votes are being counted during the day for this election. No staying up through the night. Counting begins on Friday morning, and we will be across it all with our special election programme throughout the day here on BBC One Scotland. Martin Geisler has the details.
This is a huge day for Scotland. So much is at stake, and we will have it all covered for you right here across the BBC. Join me on BBC One Scotland and BBC Radio Scotland. I'll have experts and analysts with me to interpret the results as they come in and work out what they might mean. We'll have politicians too, as you'd expect, to give their reaction. Stick with us all day. I promise you won't miss a thing. Coverage starts at 9:30.
Well, after the election, think of the summer ahead. And for many, I'll bet the World Cup comes to mind, especially if you're going. But here's something you won't want to hear. Scottish airport workers are to ballot for strike action, which could disrupt fans' travel out to the States and also the plans of those coming here to the Commonwealth Games later. The Unite Union said 900 workers across Scotland would vote on industrial action in a dispute over pay. Well, our transport correspondent David Henderson is at Glasgow Airport for us tonight. David, what's happening then? Talk us through this.
Well, these 900 workers are at Glasgow, Edinburgh and Aberdeen airports. They work for two big companies. Mingus workers handle ground operations, that's loading and unloading aircraft, and staff working for ICTS run the security screening lanes. The Unite Union claims you really cannot operate an airport without these people. So those strike ballots close on the 21st of May, the Aberdeen one a week after that. And if staff vote to reject their pay offers, the law then allows strikes to begin in early June, slap bang in the middle of World Cup travel season as Scotland fans head across to America and just weeks before Glasgow hosts the Commonwealth Games. That timing, of course, is not a coincidence.
So if people are looking to book holidays to the World Cup or otherwise, should they be worried?
Well, there's a good chance this will be settled. That's normally what happens in these situations. But if the strike action does go ahead, there's every prospect there could be disruption. It's just a question of how much. It's hard to switch ground handlers overnight, and it's hard to draft in untrained staff to screen passengers because security clearance can take weeks to put in place. But Mingus tell us that they have robust plans in place to minimise any disruption that takes place. These companies involved are profitable, and the union says that ICTS nearly doubled its profits last year. But those employers and Edinburgh Airport say pay has risen faster than inflation in recent years. The union bet is that the cost of a strike would be so much more than the cost of settling the strike, and that therefore the matter should be settled long before airports are disrupted.
Yeah, well, a lot of people watching that closely. Thank you, David, at Glasgow Airport. OK, Fiona Stocker is here to tell us what's coming up on the news at 7. Who are you hearing from?
Hello, Laura. Well, obviously we'll be touching on tomorrow's election, but we've also got news of a game changer in the treatment of strokes, something that could transform the recovery of thousands of Scots. That's really interesting. Also been talking to an autism researcher who wants better representation of autistic women in telly and film. So she's found that the stereotypical autistic man, so if you think of something like Rain Man that's in the media, can actually delay diagnosis for neurodiverse females because simply they don't recognise that. And lovely story about a tech recycling project that's giving old devices that normally would have been thrown away new homes, keeps them at a landfill, but also gives them to someone who needs digitally connected. They've won a King's Award. All that at 7, the BBC Scotland channel.
Bit of everything. Thank you.
Bit of everything.
Now, to other news today. 2 men who claimed to be respectable businessmen have been jailed for 6 years and 8 months for running a £12 million cocaine smuggling operation. David Stephen and Sean Brown sponsored Scottish Premiership club Motherwell through their firm DX Home Improvements. But the 30-year-olds were caught just before Christmas last year in a police operation targeting serious organised crime. They pleaded guilty at the High Court in Glasgow to a charge of directing others to commit a serious offence. A body has been recovered from the water off the Orkney island of Stronsay, near where a monk went missing last month. Searches have been ongoing for 24-year-old Justin Evans, also known as Brother Ignatius, who went missing from neighbouring Papa Stronsay on the 11th of April. Formal identification has not taken place, but his family has been informed. OK, Sheila is here with tonight's sport. We've been talking about the World Cup already, but
we've been talking about it all year.
We have. The countdown is on.
It sure is. Yes, it was a long time in coming, but now it's only a few short weeks until Scotland kick off against Haiti in Boston, with games against Morocco and Brazil to follow. Haiti's appearance will be just the second time they've taken part, and their qualification sparked scenes of joy in the capital Port-au-Prince. We've been speaking to their record goal scorer, who's plotting a victory against Steve Clarke and his Scotland players. Paul Barnes reports.
If you thought 28 years felt like an eternity to see Scotland return to the World Cup, this is the moment Haiti reached football's biggest tournament for the first time since 1974. And now the Caribbean island's most prolific striker is planning to cause an upset in the USA.
I really want to see what we can produce against this kind of teams because I'm aware of my group and I believe of my teammates. I think we have a really good team and we can shock many people, you know. Many people don't wait for us to do big things and stuff, but I'm confident, you know.
Dickens Nazon has an infinity with Scotland, having played for St Mirren in 2019. But football wasn't his abiding memory of his short spell in Paisley.
We had sun, we had snow, and we had rain in the same day. But yes, this shocked me, you know. We had all this temperature during the game. People say to me, you know, they mentioned this before to me during the season, but I say, no, it's not true. This is impossible. And when this happened, I was like, okay, I'm done.
The weather shouldn't be a problem in Boston in June, but there is a different issue concerning Nazon that could impact the number of fans attending the games.
The ticket prices, you know. Hopefully this is not going to affect the crowd and people coming in the stadium, you know, because we want this life, we want this energy, you know, around us. So hopefully this is not going to be an handicap for us for the tournament, you know. But I'm looking forward to see, yes, Scottish people and Haitian people a lot, you know, in stadiums.
The venue is set and the party will begin when the sides meet in Foxborough on the 13th of June. Paul Barnes, reporting Scotland.
And you can hear more from Dickens Nazon in the latest episode of Sacked in the Morning on BBC Sounds. Now, Chris Kane's goal has given Dunfermline the edge in the Premiership playoff quarter-final, but Arbroath insist it's still all to play for ahead of Friday's second leg. Kane finished well from Andy Todd's pass early on at East End Park, and Arbroath couldn't recover on the night. Championship runners-up Partick Thistle await the winner in next week's semi-final.
There's not much between the teams, and they play a certain way and they're very effective at it. Maybe we can do better in the physical duels, but our football was good at times and we created a lot of good chances, just didn't take them.
I think it's all there to play for. Like I say, we're not going to look too down on it. Probably disappointed just the way we started the game, but I thought once the nerves probably passed and we got a foothold in the game, and we caused a bit of bother. So let's say, especially really happy with that second half performance as well.
Stephen Presley says managing Dundee has been an exceptionally challenging and lonely job at times this season. The Dens Park side can confirm their Premiership safety with 2 games to go when they play Livingston this weekend. Presley admits he doesn't know if he's won over the doubters who questioned his appointment, but he's proud of the growth in the squad and himself.
You learn a lot about yourself during these dark periods, but that's football management and we have to accept that. You know, I've been in the game long enough to know that it's part of the journey, part of the job. The one thing that I will say about it is that it challenges you more probably than most other jobs, and as a result of that, from a personal level, I see a lot of growth in myself as a human being, and that's important to me.
And that's all your sport this evening, Laura.
Thank you. I think we all need to lie down after this Premiership season, before the World Cup starts anyway. Hi, Christopher. Another wonderful shot from one of your whale watchers
stunning
there.
picture here from the
Somebody
Isle of
up in a
Skye.
plane or a drone,
probably
maybe.
a drone, maybe, yes. There were some sunny spells around today, but thickening cloud, and once again, quite a cool feel. Thanks very much indeed, Laura. Yeah, very good evening to you. It has been a decent enough day of weather with some spells of sunshine earlier on, but the cloud has been building all the while. This is the satellite image from earlier. You can see that cloud thickening up through the course of the afternoon, and many areas then resulted in fairly overcast skies. But it has been dry. However, there's rain on the way. This is the picture through the course of this evening and overnight. A warm front bringing outbreaks of rain to the Highlands and Islands and the Northern Isles, where it will turn persistent through the early hours. Elsewhere, still dry. Not as cold as last night either. Temperatures here in towns and cities 5 or 6 Celsius. So to tomorrow, and it's a cloudy start with a few spots of rain or some showers working their way eastwards across the mainland, and then trailing cold front bringing a more persistent spell of wet weather towards the west coast. So a snapshot mid-afternoon, you can see a little more in the way of wet weather around tomorrow compared with today. A breezier picture as well, particularly on the coast from a southerly direction, but it should be feeling a little bit milder than it has done today. However, you can see that wet weather still in play across parts of the far north and northwest. A cold front which is actually going to stick with us overnight tomorrow night and into Friday as well. So this is the pressure sequence for Friday. You can see low pressure situated to the north and the cold front there bringing some cloud and some spells of light rain, 1 or 2 showers at times, working their way south and east across the country, but a fairly slow progress. And across the northwest with a cool northwesterly wind digging in, a cool feel here. Elsewhere, around about the low teens. Looking ahead to this weekend, it looks as though on Saturday we've got a ridge of high pressure, so largely dry, 1 or 2 showers. By Sunday, though, another low pressure system moving into the north, bringing some rain. Into next week, we need to look to the jet stream to understand what's happening. On Monday, it's running north to south, then across us west to east. So Monday and Tuesday, reasonably dry, but midweek onwards, the jet dives back to the south of us, allowing low pressure to return. And once again, feeling cool. That's the forecast for now.
It's always about the jet stream, isn't it? Thank you, Christopher. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. The late news is at 10:30. Until then, from everyone on the team, enjoy your evening. Good night.